Good to have you in today,
You are.
Dr. Scott Frey. Welcome to the Vetted Podcast. Thanks for, we've had to reschedule because we're in mid-Missouri and weather.
It's 1 degree out right now. So.
Yeah, so we can drive today, but it is freezing cold. But no, thanks for taking the time to come in, reschedule. Thanks for everything with the Missouri Veterinary Medical Association, your practice, all the contributions to the veterinary community that you've had, and we're looking to dive into that. I know you've had a relationship with my business partner, Wes, for a couple decades now,
Yep.
and I've known you now for a decade. Can you believe that? We've been hanging out now for a while, so it's great, and most recently had a big moment, right?
Yep.
Which is the sale of your practice to Dr. Reuter, and we had a great time being along that ride with you and Dr. Reuter to see that practice say independent, because at the Vetted Podcast, we love independent practices. I think you know that. And so, hey, dive in today. Who's this guy over here?
I'm Kale.
I'm Steven, host
Kale.
of the...
I'm Scott.
You're Scott? Yeah, Scott. Hey, let's talk about some basics here. Family. Let's talk about family. Tell me about Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly. Kelly, my wife of 36 years now.
Awesome.
Yep. We were actually high school classmates, and a lot of people don't know that, but then parted ways. And it's a love story, a great love story. Parted ways in college for a couple, 3 years, then reconnected. And
so you weren't together during that time period.
No,
we were parted
the way we
ways, or
describe it is we were high school classmates, but we weren't high school sweethearts.
okay.
We dated some in high school,
Yeah.
both dated other people, blah, blah. Then she went to Kirksville. I went to MU
Okay.
for the first 2 years, and then she transferred to Mizzou. And it's a long story. You don't want to get into how we got back together, but it's a pretty cool story. So that was 36 years ago, and on New Year's Eve that we were married, and
That's
2
awesome.
grown kids.
Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
We got married on New Year's Eve.
that's awesome.
Best New Year's Eve party in 1988
Yeah, but heck yeah, it was.
in Indian Creek, Missouri.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll try to find that on a map.
Tell me more about family.
Yeah, kids. My son Nick is 33,
Yeah.
single and the world traveler. He's I think he's getting back from Switzerland today.
Oh, awesome.
Snowboarding the Matterhorn.
Good for
Can't
him.
believe I'm saying that about
That's
my son.
cool.
Yeah, he lives in Denver. That's his home base.
Okay.
Computer coder.
Okay.
Single, travels the world. If he has internet, he can work. So
Yeah,
so yeah, we're real proud of him.
that's cool.
Financially independent. Both our kids are. That's a big.
That's a big deal.
That's a big success story. Our
Yeah.
our daughter took the more traditional route. She's in. Our kids were 16 months apart.
Okay.
So she's in Springfield with 2 of the cutest grandsons that you've ever met. So
Yeah.
I tell all my friends with that have grandkids that, except for yours, I have the cutest grandbabies that have ever been born. But her husband is an human ER doctor in Springfield. She's a speech pathologist, but right now
Okay.
she's a stay-at-home mom with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old boys. So
Now,
she's got a lot of life ahead of her.
were they born? Well, one of the grandkids born around the MVMA, right? Yeah.
Kelly always helps with the MVMA convention.
Yeah.
And last year,
Yeah, it was last.
she
Yeah.
almost helped deliver our baby, our grandson, because the dad, who is an ER doctor, is working in the ER down the hallway and couldn't get away to help deliver his son. So he got there just in time. So yeah, one of them is turning 1 next weekend during the convention, or a week before. So
Well,
Yep.
that's awesome.
that's the younger one.
I think that it's interesting. My wife Lauren and I met. I was a freshman in college in my year. She was graduating high school. She's a Hickman grad. Same kind of deal. She'd gone off to Maryville. We were together actually, but we had a time apart, and she calls it the dark period.
All right.
And
That's kinda
then
what ours was.
I saw her on her birthday, her 21st birthday actually,
Uh,
and I just knew. I was like, I'm an idiot.
there's
I'm an idiot.
a story like that too.
She's the girl, right? And that had a lot to do, I think, with our success of that connection and those things. I mean, I cried at my wedding, and it was because I'm like, I can't believe that this is happening.
Right.
It wasn't crying because I was,
Right.
the stereotype. So that's wonderful. And 36 years of marriage, 2 kids, 2 grandkids. You couldn't ask for more.
Find your life partner. That makes a big deal with your success in life.
Yeah. Well, hey, we heard a connection over here earlier before we started
Absolutely.
recording. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I grew up in Hannibal,
Mm-hmm.
and just about 10 minutes ago figured out that you also grew up or spent some time in Hannibal. So let me know. Tell us about where you're from.
So I grew up in Monroe City, and for most people, we have to tell them that's 20 miles west of Hannibal because
Right.
nobody's heard of Monroe City, but they
Right.
all know Hannibal. And if they haven't heard of Hannibal, we just say Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, all that.
Of course.
Although now we're getting old enough, I talk to a lot of younger people that they draw a blank when you say Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer. Huck
Yeah.
Finn. They don't,
Yeah.
they don't get that. So yeah, born and raised in Monroe City, Missouri.
Okay.
Me and
All
Kelly-
through high school
Yeah.
in Monroe City and everything.
Mhm.
Awesome. So
Oh shoot! I mean, so you know the Halls. David Hall, Alan Hall.
Yeah.
Those are Lauren's, my wife's uncles.
Ah, okay.
Her dad's Adam Hall.
Okay.
Do you know Adam?
I don't-
Dwayne.
I know
Butch.
Alan was closer to.
Yeah, he's closer,
He
but
was in my brother's class.
Yeah.
we had five
Jeez.
kids in my family, so we had go all that whole 15-year period. We know everybody. In Monroe
many Thanksgivings and Christmas up in Monroe City.
City. Oh, really?
Yeah.
At the halls.
Yeah.
They lived out towards Honeywell, didn't they?
That what they did, but they moved to Monroe City
they?
later on. Yeah.
And of course, we moved away, and I graduated in 1983, so I haven't
Right.
lived
Yeah.
there that long. In fact, my only ties now is Kelly still has some family there. I don't have any family left there. All my siblings are moved away, and Mom's not there anymore. So,
Yeah.
my dad built the vet clinic in Monroe City. Is how we moved there.
okay.
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 Yeah.
So you grew up in the veterinary space then.
Yes and no. I did. My dad built. He graduated in '61. I was born on his 30th birthday. He was born he graduated from vet school in '61. I graduated 30 years later in '91. But he died when I was 4 years old. He built the practice there. There was a car train accident. He got hit by a train.
Oh no.
I left
to hear that.
Yeah, I left my mom with 4 kids and under the age of 7 at 29 years of age. But I was not to make it a big emotional thing. I was 4 years old. I don't have a lot of memory of it.
Okay.
But the clinic, he built the clinic next door to our house. So I grew up in the house next door to the clinic, and Dr. Jack Coleman bought the practice from my mom when my dad died. So one of my first jobs as a 13-year-old was scooping poop in the vet clinic next door. Walked across the yard,
Yeah.
and there it was. So, which as a result, Dr. Coleman was one of my mom did a real good job of having male influence mentors, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Dr. Coleman, then later Dr. Bob Carson, Dr. Imogene Haymeyer, all in that clinic. So yeah.
And Imogene's still there, right?
Yes, she
Yep,
is. Yep.
yep.
Yeah, Imogene's still there. I think Dr. Coleman's still in there occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Monica Otto, I think, is the primary right now. So.
What a cool connection.
Yeah,
What a
yeah.
cool story.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yep.
yeah, no, I don't know if you know. So, the Foremans, I don't know if you know any of them. So my girlfriend is a foreman, and her dad lived in went to Monroe City. They're from Rensselaer, which is
Okay.
even smaller than Monroe
Even
City.
smaller.
So,
The Holses, there's a Holses in Rensselaer.
oh yeah,
That's what
yep,
we're-
yep. So, but yeah, I grew up in Hannibal too, so I'm used to that Mark Twain reference of Mark Twain, Huck Finn. That's kind of all we have, and that's what we go by. But yeah, I grew up on the river, so I knew all the islands that they talked about in the
yeah.
books, and we'd get out and go imitate those books when I was in high school.
Get the raft and find the islands.
Yeah, of course. So
Right.
awesome.
I tell you, it helps shape the conversation and getting to know and understand, a little bit, right? And it's interesting when I love doing this podcast is because when we're doing business consulting, right, or we're seeing at the MBMA, it's never about each other,
Right.
It's about shop talk. It's we forget to get into learning about each other, what shapes us, because there's a reason when you make a decision today, it literally you can tie it back to probably 4 years old. That's a big
Yep,
big
that's
big
right.
thing in your life, and so those things matter. And I had no idea about that. So
Yeah, that's something
Yeah.
I go around telling
Yeah.
the street corner.
right, yeah, you're not going to, and people aren't. I think you're correct me if I'm wrong. You're the kind of person is gonna answer a question, but maybe not. Maybe not. You're gonna
Right.
dive right in, or you're
Right.
not gonna give it all up, right?
I'm not going to walk up to you and say hi and then tell you my history. So-
Yeah, yeah.
Although there's time we talk about my dad, there's a lot of the now older, because now I'm one of the old vets, so it's the really older vets that still remember him and know me as Doc Frey's son.
Yeah.
He graduated with Dr. Taylor.
Okay.
He was a Dr.
Okay.
Taylor classmate.
Okay. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
A big tie in there for sure. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
What more about, family that you think what makes you proud? Tell me about that.
Well, you fight your kids, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
I'm proud of both my kids. They're both, like I said, financially independent, and that's not just because that means I don't have to pay for them. It just means they've had goals and have met them and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, typical parent and grandparent.
Yeah.
I could talk all day about those, about them too. So yeah, that's probably family. I mean, what was the question? What am I proud
Oh, just so
of?
proud. Yeah, proud
Yeah.
of family and those things. There's
Practice.
a
I mean, we're here as a veterinary profession.
Yeah.
I'm proud of what I've done with the practice and my
Yeah.
career.
So you graduated MU
Yep.
veterinary school in
91.
91. Tell me what happens after that.
I just assumed that I was going to be in a mixed animal practice, the traditional full mixed practice, everything, dogs and cats in the morning, cattle all afternoon, all that kind of stuff. So, Mike Spees was a Mizzou grad that had a practice in southeast Nebraska, that he always liked the Mizzou graduates as preceptors, or we called them free blocks back then.
Externship, precept,
right,
whatever.
right. It was
Yeah.
free blocks because we
Yeah.
didn't get paid or wasn't required. You just did it because you wanted to. But
Well, you still paid for the credits, right?
well, there was no credits then. You just had it was.
Oh,
just,
really?
You get 4 8-week free blocks.
So literally, okay.
It's assumed that you're probably going to want to go work in a vet clinic
Right.
if you can find one, but there was no requirement and no credits or anything. It's
Okay.
just, you get 4 8 weeks off.
It's not like it's today where you're expected to go
There
out.
was very few of us that took 8 weeks and went on a beach vacation or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how I found Mike Spees,
Mm-hmm.
and that was so I went to Auburn, Nebraska,
Okay.
for 2.5 years.
Where's Auburn, Nebraska?
Very south. It's the very southeast corner of Nebraska, right across from Brownville, Missouri.
Okay.
It's a straight west of Maryville,
Okay.
north of
Okay.
St. Joe.
Okay.
It's right in the corner. We did a little bit of practice in Iowa and Kansas and Missouri, but
bet.
mostly in that little corner of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Great learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think my personal record was delivering 7 calves in one day, and 100 to 200 calves per day was not unusual.
Yeah.
Had a lot of background, and I also it was my first positive equine practice experience. So anyway, that was what out of school. That was a really great learning experience. But then, to go on into
Yeah, keep going. Yeah,
County
yeah,
Animal Hospital.
yeah, absolutely.
Another could turn into a really long story. We were passing through Missouri to go to a wedding, and I can't remember where. And Kelly had a classmate from college in interior. Kelly's an interior designer by trade and education. So one of her college classmates, we met her for lunch in Boonville. I'd never heard of Boonville other than I see it. You go by I-70, everybody sees it because there's 3 exits. In that
Yeah,
little bitty
big
town.
gas station
Yeah,
or
right.
food, right?
Great Casey's.
Yeah. Even better now. So anyway, we met Susan for lunch, and just in passing when we were having lunch, she said, "Well, my brother-in-law is trying to sell his practice. You ought to give him a call." So we spent the weekend. We went back to Auburn, and I had no specific goal of, okay, I want to be an owner or when or timeline or anything like that. But she gave me his number, so I called him, and again, too long of a story to tell all the details, but we ended up buying Cooper County Animal Hospital in January 1st of 1994.
Okay.
It was
Existing location,
the existing building,
existing building. Yeah.
Which it was built by Greg Lenz, who graduated in '87, who was a local dairy farmer's family.
Okay.
And he built the practice while he was in vet school. I think he put the building up on weekends, which there's some things about the building you can tell it was done by a broke college student, but it's still going strong. But he built the practice with the known goal of becoming an embryo transfer.
Okay.
That's what he wanted to do.
Okay.
Especially with his dairy background, which at the time that was almost 100% exclusively dairy for embryo transfer. So after he built it in '87, so by '94 his ET practice was busy enough. He wanted to unload this practice so that he could go concentrate on that. So as a result, the positive was it wasn't very expensive to buy the practice. The downside was it hadn't been really taken care of as far as the small animal, the companion animal, and the beef side of it very well. So
The client list wasn't.
it wasn't
robust.
real wasn't real high. Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you, our gross income the first year versus what it was last year,
Yeah.
it's
A little different.
it's a little different.
So you walked right in, had not worked there, or
I
had you?
not worked there. I had never owned a business. I had never been a boss. I was an associate. I did a lot of odd job, different work growing up, but
Right.
no management, no business background. My bachelor's degree was animal science with an econ emphasis.
Okay.
That's probably the closest thing to business
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
expertise that I had. Yeah.
So what was the time frame? So you're living in Nebraska. You're negotiating a deal on this practice.
Right.
So what's the time frame? You move to Boonville and you walk in as the owner and veterinarian
I
there.
think the first contact was, it had to have been in the summer because I remember going, I think the first contact was probably late summer, July, August, something like that.
Mhm.
And after lots of conversations back and forth and a couple of drives from the 4.5 drive from Auburn to Boonville and back and forth and negotiating on the phone and visiting, I think, the third bank before we found one that would loan us money. So yeah, I think it was about August to January, something like that.
Gotcha.
Signed papers on January 1st or December 31st. I can't remember.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So did you move here like a week before you walked in, or did you guys like what was that transition like? Because that seems hectic in and of
Another
itself.
story. There's a lot of negotiating when our biggest asset when we built the clinic was a 3-year-old Cub Cadet lawnmower. It was worth more than our 2 vehicles we had at the time. So part of the, and I'm not joking, a lot of the negotiating, there was an old junk trailer house in the driveway of the clinic, in the yard across the clinic, that green space across across the driveway.
Yeah.
So part of the negotiation was you can live in that trailer for up to a year for free.
Okay.
Because actually Greg had it there. He used it for his immigrant farm workers to live in.
Okay.
Kelly swore when we finally moved out of our trailer after college that I'd never get her into a trailer house again. So
She's an interior designer.
Exactly.
She's seen all this nice stuff, studied what
Yeah.
a place should be like.
So yeah, we moved that week. I think a week before or something. In fact, my boss in Nebraska, I said, I think I'll leave like 2 weeks before the end of the year. And he said, oh no. I said, you had me on call the last 2 Christmases. You're working this one. So
Okay.
I can't remember. I might have sent Kelly on ahead with our 2 kids, which were 2 and 3, I think at the
Okay.
time, something like that.
Yeah. You made a commitment. I mean, you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the motivation for that? I mean,
I've thought about that, and I don't know for sure. I don't think there was ever a conscious, I'm going to be a practice owner, but I think there was always some kind of underlying known factor that I would at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really answer that, and I've thought about that. I need a psychologist to tell me why.
Yeah, but no family in Boonville, no ties to Boonville. Just the deal happened to work out.
Yep, it's just I wasn't actively looking, but it just happened.
Missouri called you home.
They did, and actually, and you say no ties to Boonville. I didn't know that I had as many ties as I did to Boonville. Mm. My mom's family farm was in between Otterville and Smithton, even smaller than Monroe City.
Yeah,
I don't know where that is. So Boonville was actually kind of halfway between, or well, it's closer to my grandparents, but it's on the way between Monroe City and the home place. After several years, my mom actually moved back to the home place, so we're a lot closer to my mom now anyway, and all my aunts and uncles. So.
Cool.
So Cooper County, which Boonville's the county seat of Cooper County, my grandparents and therefore aunts and uncles and cousins are all in the other corner of Cooper County. So indirect ties that I didn't even think about at the time.
Yeah.
We just wandered around Boonville and say, that's a nice little town. I think we can make a go of it here.
So you come in now, you're an owner of this practice.
Right.
And it sounds like this practice is, you're going to have to build it.
I don't like the word floundering, but it wasn't, yeah.
Yeah,
You were on a plateau.
It wasn't thriving.
It wasn't like it is today where
Right.
you actually have goodwill, right? Like
Right.
right? There's goodwill, there's clients, there's people that trust the name, all those kinds of things been
Right.
built. Has a legacy already to
Right.
it. So you walk in there, what happens? What's that first year look like?
Yeah, the first thing I did when I walked in, which at the time there was another doctor working there. There was another doctor there and two older women that were receptionist, technician, kennel help, janitor, all that. So the first day I walked in, I said, "Look, I'm not changing anything. For the first few months here, you're going to tell me how my practice runs. You're going to tell me how this works."
Yeah.
And then it was a very gradual evolution into now two to 2.5 doctor practice with a dozen employees. And
What told you to
30-year period.
approach it that way and not come in and be like, we're gonna
Yeah,
why?
instinct.
Yeah.
Instinct. I'm a lot better at a big picture, 20,000-foot view. I'm not very good at the details.
Well, that's good.
But it is as long as I find the right people that are good at details.
Well,
Sometimes I've been as successful.
What's her name? Kelly?
I think so. Yeah. Right. Who she evolved into being the practice manager, our office manager anyway. So yeah, I don't know. It was instinct and the 20,000-foot view that I knew that there would be. Being empathetic towards the staff that were there because they got this new guy. They don't know me. I'm this young punk new vet that doesn't know anything coming in here, taking over the practice, and it worked out well.
But it was good. You already had small animal, large animal experience, so
I had the medical experience. I had become. That was why that Nebraska situation was such a positive because that was an excellent learning experience. That was a throw me to the wolves thing, which also is probably good because I made all my mistakes in Nebraska.
Nobody knew who you were.
Right. Nobody knew that. Oh, that's Doc Fray's son. We really like
pre-social media.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I had got a comfort level with the medical part of it. So I was ready to take
What
on the
equipment
business
was
part.
in there?
He had a Vietnam era X-ray machine
Okay.
with the old dip tanks.
Yeah.
Gosh, the most basic, an old methoxyflurane anesthesia machine.
Okay.
I bet most vets don't even remember what that is now. So it was pretty basic. Pretty basic. It was computerized.
Okay.
Very early. Yeah, it was kind of an early adapter as far as
That's smart.
it wasn't not nearly paperless, but
But still.
very basic. Actually, it was just inventory and some of the accounting. It was the early Cornerstone IDEX. It was PSI before that. Years before.
Yeah. No, that's smart though. To be
Yeah.
I think. Well, inventory. Shoot, you got an inventory question. I could.
Yeah. So I mean, I know, speaking with Wes and some things that your inventory system was impeccable. And
That's good. You need to make sure Kelly hears this because that's that's.
So you got to go like this and go, Kelly, this is for you.
Yeah, Kelly, this is
no, but so talk about that because that's something that really does truly drive profit is having a great inventory system that is well maintained and properly accounted for. And so how did you accomplish that?
I think that's because it's back to that 20,000-foot view is that I understood pretty early on just instinctively that inventory was a really big deal. I mean, I'm the one writing the check, so I see what I pay for what's in the building, and I see how much waste if something disappears or gets outdated and you throw it away. It just killed me to throw away a bottle of whatever, amoxicillin because it's outdated because we didn't catch it on the shelf.
Right.
So I started that, and computerization helped. But I started that just doing regular counts and being really. That's one thing I was pretty picky about, is knowing what was in the building and markups and all that kind of stuff. And then gradually, when our kids got in school, she says she got sucked into the practice. When that was one of the logical things for her to take over when she started working in the practice. So she carried on that, and she's much more detail oriented than I am. So she kept real good track of that.
Yeah, interior designer. I mean, that's
Little
a detail.
right.
Yeah,
detail oriented mind. So.
Yeah. So they were telling me that out of all the line items in your system, there were 3 that weren't right or something at the end, which is out of 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000. That's an incredible feat.
Well, we spent that last 3 months before the transition of Kelly being even uber particular more than usual about that. And I kept telling Kelly, if there's 998 pills instead of 1,000 in that bottle, that's not something to chase. But that's how that happened. Is she did chase those
Yeah.
2 pills.
But I think that there's something to be said though about knowing that, because I mean, if you do that over time and within 2 pills or something like that, you're going to be much more successful over time.
The line that you have to watch as the owner that's also a veterinarian is you have to be careful that you're not so adamant about inventory that you don't have things in the building that you need.
Yeah.
And that's where the business versus the medical comes into play. You have to be careful about that, which I did an okay job with that. I think there are some things that I probably should have had more in inventory or getting more different newer medicines or things that maybe I couldn't, but that's the trade-off. So
Yeah, it's tough that we talk about the business mindset versus the veterinarian mindset, right? Because as you said, you're trained to be a veterinarian, and so what you're thinking about over there, interesting enough, you had a business mindset, on the inventory. Most veterinarians would be like, just stock the shelf full.
Right.
We don't want to run out
Right.
an animal. But, it's a fine line to walk, and especially seasonality, right?
Right. And there's where the art part of it comes in. There's my interior designer. She's attention to detail, but there's the artist part of it. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's an art to that.
Yeah.
To that too. Yeah. That's something I forgot about. How did we do that early on? We did actually go to some intentional CE type inventory management focused things. PVP, again, I'm showing my age, but
Yeah.
PVP was a buying cooperative that was really successful for a lot of years, and they had some really good inventory management CE that was helpful. You have your A items, your B items, your C items. Your A items, don't worry about overstocking. You can't run out of those. Heartworm preventive, flea and tick control, basic antibiotics, and then you got your B items. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That helped us both, me and Kelly both, a lot as far as understanding inventory management better. So
Yeah, straight retail talk right there.
yeah,
From former grocer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know about that.
Oh yeah, yeah. You put your A items at eye level. Make sure you got them.
Well, and we got into a little bit of that. I got a little uncomfortable being a veterinarian. That on one hand, I didn't want to be a veterinarian. I didn't want to be a pet supply store that also had medicine, but I also want to supply the basic, collars and leashes and pet odor eliminator candles and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's that line too of what kind of image do you want to portray.
There is.
And if you want to be a pet store that also has a vet appointments, that's great. That's not what I wanted to do with ours. So
Yeah, talk about that. Then. What a great transition and a great what is that image, that Cooper County Animal Hospital that Dr. Frey wanted?
we want to be nice guys. We want to think those people are nice.
Okay. Yeah.
You can sum it up that way. They don't. You've all heard it. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was my biggest focus, is as far as hiring staff and that kind of thing. Is I want to be known as a clinic where the doctors and the staff are nice and friendly.
Yeah.
And then throw in some empathy and common sense too. That's,
Yeah.
That was you could probably sum up how I wanted Cooper County Animal Hospital to be, or the image, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That could sum it up.
That's
Nice folks.
That's the way to do it. Period. Right? Because you do that, your clients, probably friends, are going to talk
And
about
a
you
small
too, right? In the
town.
right way in the
Yeah,
community.
small town. I've got clients. A good percentage of our clients now are my kids' classmates and friends, because and their parents were classmates. Clients ever since we got there. So yeah, we know these people. We see them in town every day.
Yeah.
Grocery store, Walmart, church,
Yes.
school functions.
Well, you mentioned it, pivot away from the practice a little bit to community. You've talked about community involvement, being on boards, being on Rotary, doing all those things.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved with that?
When if you're a veterinarian in a small town, when I was in vet school, I don't remember who said it, Dr. Niemeyer, Dr. somebody that one of the said, you go to a small town, which back then I was kind of in that transition when before me, like my dad's generation, most people went to a small town. I was kind of in the middle where it was 50-50. Now most people go to a big town.
Yeah.
But at the time, they told us in vet school, you go to a small town, you are going to be a celebrity in your small town.
Yeah.
Everybody will know you.
Mm-hmm.
So, just be aware of that.
Right.
So how'd I get involved? People start asking you to be on boards and be involved in this, that, and the other. And I think we said before we started recording, you don't do that because it helps the practice, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, it helps the practice.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Well, you're involved with, it's a Rotary Church, right? I mean, the right things.
Yeah. Rotary Church, Chamber of Commerce, no school board, no county
Yeah.
commissioner. We talked
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much all the things in a small town.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Back grocery day, same thing. I was Rotary, Chamber of Commerce. I did the school board thing, which
Yeah.
wasn't a bad deal.
Yeah.
It was before. It was when everything was pretty level. So
Right.
so it was good. But no, glad to see you do that. I think that's today. It's getting involved is so it's tough because there's so many. Everyone's got a cause now, right? And a Rotary. I want to get plugged to Rotary. That's a great organization.
It is. Yeah.
I mean that they
Yeah.
polio
Yep. And yep.
cured that.
World
World
it's
just
like
about
a little
right.
pocket in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and
Yeah.
the tribe leaders won't let them go in and vaccinate because they don't trust them. But,
Yeah.
and there's little pockets blip up every now and then across the world, but for the most part, yeah, Rotary International has been as responsible as anybody for eliminating polio in the world.
But a great community organization too, raising different functions for the community, raising money and
Our
awareness.
big fundraiser coming up in a couple months.
What do
We
you
have a
got?
Trivia night every year.
Yeah.
That's our big fundraiser. I got tickets for $100 to win a prepaid trip to Aruba or something.
Where's the
Little plug
where
in.
the funds go for? What's the cause?
Well, the club in general,
Okay.
which we give a lot to Rotary International and to Polio Plus.
Yeah.
But it's our annual fundraiser. We do a lot with the schools. There's reading programs at all the grade schools. I'm trying to move into the middle schools a little bit. Also, that's kind of been our big focus the last few years is reading. And we do a lot like the buddy packs at the schools.
Right. Scholarships. You're in-
Yep. We got 3 different scholarships named after former Rotarians. 2 different scholarships that we give to 3 kids.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Glad to
it's
hear
good-
it.
Good organization.
Yeah. So you got involved with the community.
Mm-hmm.
Being nice. Yeah. I mean that's
Yeah,
isn't that the golden rule kind of?
be a nice guy. And you get altruistic about it too. Is the community's supporting me and my family.
Yes.
They're trusting me
Yes.
to do that. So giving back is you want to give back to the community too. It's easier to do in a small town too.
It boils down to as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
It's not simple to execute on because there's a lot of moving parts, but I think that's a great point to bring out as we talk about private practice ownership,
Yeah.
key to success in any community. I mean, even if it is a big community, if you're in St. Louis, they're little
still
communities.
pockets, sure.
It's a little community of a
Communities.
bigger community.
Yeah.
So it's still the same. You're still going to be at the
Right.
grocery store on the corner going, I know you. You're my veterinarian, right?
Right.
And I guarantee you can't get out of the grocery store without someone grabbing your ear and asking you some animal questions. So that's wonderful. Love hearing all about that.
You mentioned community and supporting your family and all those things. Talk a little bit about what it was like moving to a completely new community. You don't know anybody there. You now own the business. You have a very young family,
Right.
and you also have a practice that is probably pretty demanding. And how do you work all those things together?
Yeah, I don't. You're young and dumb enough that you don't know that you can't do it. Yeah,
Ignorance is bliss a little
exactly.
bit.
Nobody told me you can't do that, and if they would have, I probably would have said, "Yeah, watch me."
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of ignorance is bliss in a young person. I was 30. Well, I was 29. I bought the practice for my 29th birthday and sold it for my 60th birthday. Almost to
Yeah.
almost to the day. So yeah, a lot of ignorance and just intestinal fortitude and creative financing. That's how I
Yes.
I made it work. And really, it's as simple as that. As it didn't really cross my mind that this is not a smart thing to do. You're going to fail. You can't be done. Whatever. I remember sitting across arguing with a banker when I showed him the balance sheet of the clinic, the profit and loss, and he said, he looked at that and he slid it across and said, "You can't make a living doing this." I said, "Yes, you can. Here's how you can do this. I was showing him my figures that I thought. And so I said, "Yes, you can. It's there like this." And So I went back to Auburn to Nebraska that weekend. I called him up on Monday. He said, yeah, man, I beat you up pretty hard. I didn't think I'd hear from you again. Yeah, I'll loan you the money. That's how we got the bank loan.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. I didn't know any better.
You just do it.
I thought this is what my next step is, and I remember the first time we met with Dr. Lenz and his wife, me and Kelly. We drove away, and Kelly looked and said, "You want to buy this place, don't you?" I said, "Yes, I do." She said, "Okay, we're in." And she never doubted me. Kind of probably speaks of her wisdom.
That's a good story. I mean, and ignorance is bliss. That makes a lot of sense. You don't know what you don't know, and you're willing to try things that you may not try if you had something to lose.
That really was what, and really I didn't have much to lose because we did talk about that. What if it fails?
Yeah.
What if it goes broke? What if we can't pay the loan? I said, well, I've got my DVM degree. I can go. Said it's not like we won't have other options. And early on, I had my degree and didn't have absolute ties to any place.
Right.
So worst case, I could have moved anywhere. And back then, veterinarians weren't as in demand as they are now. But in mixed animal practice, I could have found another job.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you might have just lost a super nice lawnmower.
Exactly.
Yeah, if that's what you collateralized.
My lawnmower. Right. Wasn't that nice of a lawnmower?
Well, you've been running and going. I mean, raising a family, running a business, and you're like, how did I get to this? And maybe another doctor comes into Cooper County, and you'll have a chance to reflect and have some introspection. We can talk about that down the road. I think you've had a lot of experiences that subconsciously are in there. And plus, you mentioned you had an ag econ degree, right? And so, they didn't really teach you to run a business, but you knew how to look at a balance sheet. You know how to look at a profit and loss. You know how to run some numbers, right?
Yeah, I kind of did. Probably our personal budgeting was probably close. But that's kind of I don't think a hobby, but interest of mine is crunching numbers anyway. Because you say I knew how to read a balance sheet, not really. I knew, but I could figure those out. It made sense to me, profit and loss and balance sheet. But I didn't really know how to read one. I maybe thought I did when I told that banker, yes, I can do this. See these numbers.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. And so that's important. It's a big part of being business owners is understanding numbers or finding resources to help you understand those numbers. And that's a big part.
There's the finding the resources, which I wasn't good at that early on. Internet and reading books and stuff like that was my main source early on. So
That's not a bad thing.
No.
Educating yourself.
Yeah.
You're highly educated and continue to educate yourself. So wonderful. Glad to hear that. Okay, what more you got over there that you got on your good question list?
My bigger question was, you purchased a clinic in the 90s, and you've now sold a clinic in the 2020. So almost a 30-year gap between those two experiences.
Yep.
What were the similarities and what were the differences, maybe, if you could speak to those?
I might have a hard time coming up with similarities.
Okay, that's fine. Then go to differences.
So different. I mean, that was. I mean, first of all, the practice was less than a tenth of the gross income that it is now. So there's that. So the dollars are so much less, and then part of it was my personality and Dr. Lenz's personality, and part of it was we just didn't worry about getting too picky about it. It was basically a handshake agreement and a local general law practice that kind of threw some documents together. Then the bank gave him the money, and I started paying back the money. And it was pretty much as simple as that. In hindsight, I wish I would have had somebody like Pro Partners or somebody because there were some things that I did that should have been done differently. But it all turned out okay in the long run. So as far as and then so now we get to 30 years later, and we really needed the expertise of somebody, not only for the negotiating, but the legal and the permitting and the payroll and the everything that had evolved from then to now. It's so much different. I think similarities is probably just the anxiety of the buyer.
Yeah.
Well, and of the seller too. I mean, there was
Right.
There was some stress and anxiety there too. But So that's about the only thing that's similar that I can think of, but
Right.
the differences are great in many, just a whole different world. It was kind of beneficial that the practice was a little bit floundering, because how did it work when I first stepped foot in the door as the new owner, new boss? The practice wasn't busy enough to keep me from doing a lot of the management type stuff too.
Forced you into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was able to spend time doing that because the schedule was not packed full of appointments all day, every day.
So when you did that, were there any fears that you guys had that came true? Or like, you sit there and you do these things, and you might get anxious about things like that. Was there anything that came true, or maybe didn't come true, that you really thought was gonna be a problem?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Any of the worst fears?
Yeah, because I think we always have these big fears of like, what if
Right.
this, what if that, and most of the time they never happen the way that
Exactly.
you think
And
they're
you-
going
and
to.
You're right. I don't think any of the worst fears did. I mean, number one, am I going to go broke?
Right.
And then not have a place to house my family,
Right.
with all this debt. I mean, that was obviously the biggest one. What if people don't like me? What if I mess up and lose my license because I made some big mistake? Those are kind of the worst fears. I mean, the little fears are, can I make payroll next month? Which those came true quite frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those first 2 or 3 years, Kelly'd say, I'd say, do you need the paycheck? And she said, well, can I at least have some rent check or something? So
Yeah.
that was I suppose talking through it, maybe that one came true quite a bit, but it was never we're never going to make it. It
Yeah.
never was close enough that we didn't think we'd make it.
Always finding a way to make it.
If a fear came through that I couldn't find a bank to loan me the money, but
Yeah.
then I just kept going to more banks.
Your grit. You have grit. You're persistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it was more young youth ignorance that I didn't know better.
I think there's probably an underlying thought out there to go, how did you grow the practice? How did you get people to say, come to Cooper County Animal Hospital?
Yeah, there's it's back to being the nice guys.
Yeah.
It's back to treating people treating people how they want to be treated, and helping their animals, and showing that you care. It really is as simple as that. I didn't have stated goals. I wasn't, and that's where we've evolved into now, that it's good that somebody's taking over that will do that extra, write things down, have specific goals, have people to help them do that, because I did the whole thing by the seat of my pants, because it didn't have specific stated goals. Here's, I'm going to grow the practice. This is I had financial goals every year. But it's just treat people like they want to be treated. It really is as simple as that.
It wasn't marketing. It was word of mouth.
The
It was.
marketing consisted of being involved in the community and word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. We.
Get a reputation for being good doctors that like my pets.
Yeah. Kale and I did a thing on marketing, and it gets back to it's word of mouth. People will come in and try to sell you a marketing package, and it's hard to go, did it work or didn't work? You can't.
Right.
What we talked about that, find a new client. It's like, well, we were at a convention 2 years ago, and that person is now calling us
Right.
2 years later. So how do you put a dollar on all those kinds of? You just
There's
have to be
that.
out there smiling and
There's
seeing
that. You
people.
don't know what you do now is going to help you next month, next year, whatever.
Yeah,
But even when you're doing that marketing, like I said before, you can't do it. You can't be nice to people because that's good for the business. You
Yeah.
gotta be nice to people because that's the right thing to do, and that will grow your business.
Well, people can see that too and sense that.
You can't fake it. That's
You
what
can't
I'm-
fake it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
that's your reputation.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Your reputation will show through. You can fake it for probably
Right.
6 to 12 months,
Yeah, right.
and then the
Yeah.
next year they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
I don't think that guy is.
Right. Yeah,
is
they
what
know.
he said. Yeah. The biggest marketing still word of mouth.
And the other marketing which is in the same category as the staff that I have hired over the years. Again, it's evolved a little bit, so we do need a little more, registered RVTs versus trained on the job, or more
Right.
important now than they used to be, things like that. But even hiring people, I always said, I don't care what your skill set is, what you've done in the past. I want to know what your personality is. I can train you to be an assistant.
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
train you to be an assistant or a receptionist. I want to know that you're a nice person that has some common sense and some empathy.
Yeah.
And that's been my marketing.
So basically, we don't want to hire assholes.
That's pretty. Yeah, there you go. We've done a pretty good job of keeping the assholes out of our.
Yeah. That's like, in the manual, it's like, don't do stupid shit.
Exactly.
Period. All right,
That's
like,
it, done.
can we move on to the next part?
That's my staff manual has this like Dr. Fray's philosophy. I should have brought a copy of it because I can't remember all of them. But yeah, the kind of that show them they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's part of
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
Another thing is take care of your staff so they stay happy.
Yeah.
One of my staff manual philosophies is spend all our time on the good clients and let somebody else deal with the bad clients. And in addition to that, ability to pay is not the only thing that defines a good client. We've had good clients that have no problem paying big money, some of our top clients income-wise, and they're assholes.
Yeah.
And I don't want my staff to have to deal with that. So, which I didn't do a very good job of. There's some clients over the years I should have fired quicker than I have, but
Yeah.
that's just, if you're a nice person, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
So,
And you have to make payroll.
get right.
In business, we would like the ideal business to run this way, right? But business is business. There's going to be some gray areas, and as long as your staff goes, hey, I know this person, what they're going to do, how they're going to say, I got your back. Let's take care of them still, and then send them out,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And if they cross a certain line, then
And
they're not king.
Yeah.
They're not king. So that's wonderful. I like the philosophy. I like those things. That's a key to successful business for, over 30 years. And then moving into what sparked it and said it's time to sell. Let me clarify that.
COVID was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Okay.
But it's been a few years of thinking. I keep telling people I'm not burnt out,
Yeah.
but I'm tired. I did my thing. It's time for somebody to come along that doesn't just do the seat of their pants like I did, because that worked great as a 1 doctor, 3 employee practice. But what it's evolved into now, it needs to be somebody that's ready to take it on to the next level. So, but COVID wore me out.
Yeah.
As a business owner, my gosh, dealing with and
You're gonna be 61 this year.
just turned
Just
60.
turned 60.
Yeah.
So, looking at that, it's interesting because there's like this magical thing of like, sometimes a lot of times when someone's 60, now you got COVID experience, they're still like, because you're making money, business is running well, and so a lot of times 60-year-olds are like, why would I want to sell this right now?
Well, and there's
I'm making money.
There is that, because that was I have said that is that I'm not when we decided, okay, we're getting serious here. Let's see if Dr. Reuter's ready to purchase, and I made the statement that I'm not selling the practice because of the money. If I wanted more money, I'd keep owning the practice because it's doing pretty good for us.
Yeah.
I'm selling it because I'm tired. I'm just ready for somebody else. I want to be the employee and help animals and let somebody else deal with the headaches.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about seeing the 20,000-foot view and having Dr. Reuter then.
Oh,
Was that also like, I've got an opportunity here?
Oh, yeah.
And so
Which,
if I don't do this now, maybe I may not have an opportunity in 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's been with us 17 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like we didn't know we're known entities to each other.
Right.
She's been the longest, well, by far the longest associate that we've had, and she's local, grew up there, both families there, all that stuff. So yeah, we'd mentioned it and talked about it off and on for 10 years or more. She got to a stage in her life she was ready to get serious, and I was ready to. You betcha, I'm ready.
How'd that conversation start between the two of you? Like the real, it's going to happen conversation.
So the way it happened was about every year we'd kind of nudge to say, hey, we need to get together. Her and Keith, Dr. Reuter and her husband Keith. Me and Kelly would say, we need to get together and talk about what the plan is for next year, what's going on. So, they're so busy with their family, 3 boys, cattle farm.
Yeah.
He travels a lot. They're so busy that we didn't push because he said it'd be on your schedule, not ours, because you got more free time, or we got more free time than you do. So earlier last year, March-ish, they said they wanted to have a meeting. Me and Kelly looked at each other. Well, okay, let's go. Shit might get real. So no, it was kind of, I'm joking, but they want to meet. So cool. So we sat down and they said, they said, well, okay, we're ready to get serious about this. And at that time, they had apparently already contacted Pro Partners because, wait, or was that the other they'd contacted about? I don't remember the exact, but I think they had already done that. And we were like, oh man, they're going to offer us. What are they going to offer us? How are we going to start the negotiations? Basically, they wanted to let us know that they had started the wheels turning to get you guys involved.
Right.
And started. And at that point, we set a stated date of first of the year. I thought that'd be great because that's 31 years exactly to the day that I bought the place. So that's how the conversation started. It'd been mentioned quite a few times over the years. Heck, she worked for us 4 or 5 years, and I said, you ought to start buying into the practice now. And gradual, that I had this in my mind, could have been a gradual purchase over, and then the X year in the future it goes to 51% youth. But I think this timing in her life and everything else going on with her, that didn't work out well. But it sure did work out well this past year. So.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
really. I'm always curious how those things, because when we talked, mentioned Dr. Tucker, her story there with, she just went in and was like, I want to buy it. She'd worked there before, wasn't working there, wanted to own. And it's always interesting to hear, how do people, what do you do? And I think veterinary associates, they don't know how to start the conversation, nor do a lot of practice owners, because am I going to scare the person off? Well, do they want to own?
Kind of had the whole corporate thing looming over us too, which I think she was watching to see if I was given any indication that I was getting offers, and I wasn't any legitimate offers.
Right, kicking the tires. Give me your numbers.
5 emails a day.
Yeah, they want your numbers.
Buying top dollar for practices. Yeah, right. Well, when you see my practice, you won't give me top dollar. So I think there was a little bit of concern. I'm speaking for her, so I don't know, but I think that there was some concern that there may have been some corporate. And I agree with her. She didn't want to work for a corporate practice if at all possible. Yeah. And I would prefer not to sell to corporate, even though when I see some of the dollars that they supposedly were giving. Yeah. But again, my practice that was not as attractive to a corporate, most of the corporate.
Yeah, no, and they've gotten even more strict recently, especially. They're kind of, the corporate scene they're saturated now. Yeah. And the multiples aren't carrying what they used to carry. And they found out that if I buy a practice, I'm really buying a veterinarian. That's what they're buying, right? It's veterinarian, and they only have a 2-year contract, and in 2 years they go, I don't like working here, and I'm gone. Then they don't have anything. So it's not like buying a retail location with inventory and equipment. Yeah. You're buying, wrong wording, right? Buying people, but you kind of are. Well, you kind of are, but for a limited time.
I have an opinion of where that's going to go in 10 to 15 years.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
I'll be watching from the sidelines and see if I'm correct or not.
I think you're going to have some of them turn out to be really good companies, right? Sure. Yeah, and then you'll have some that'll they'll fold.
That's the
people will lose their money and
capital and the high risk.
It's the swing back and forth of things, and
a lot of them know that some of them aren't going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the overarching themes that I've kind of noticed throughout this conversation is it seems like stewardship. Like you walked in and were a good steward of that practice and kind of recognized that it was maybe time for somebody else to carry on that legacy. Is it comforting knowing that Dr. Reuter's going to be the one carrying on that legacy?
Yes, and I don't have. Everybody's asking me, "How's that feel? That's your baby. Are you feeling some?" No, I feel great. Because I know, like I said, I know it's in good hands. She's been with us long enough, and she kept the same staff. She has better management, people that are trained in management instead of just learn on the job. So no, I have so far, and I keep saying, check with me in 6 months. But the transition from owner to employee, which I don't know if we mentioned it, but I'm a contract veterinarian for her now. Yeah. As an employed veterinarian, as an associate.
Yeah.
I'm not an owner, I'm an associate. So, and I have no negative thoughts about it. I feel great. I'm sitting in my little corner now. I have the little desk instead of the big desk in the doctor's office, and watching them take over gradually. I feel kind of bad because I know some of the stress that they're going through. I say they, Dr. Reuter and her staff. She has a practice manager. So no negative feelings. I feel great.
Good.
Yeah, we had that conversation upstairs, grabbed some coffee, right? Because when we went to reschedule, and you're looking at the day like, I got to ask off.
Well, exactly. Right. It was scheduled on a Tuesday. Well, that's my schedule. I'm supposed to work on Tuesday all day. I'm not the boss anymore. I can't just say, you guys, I'm not going to be in. So this worked out better on a Monday.
I think the word trust, stewardship, right? Stewardship matters because it was like, this business is going to go on to someone else. It's not, I'm the steward of this business at the time. We trust each other. And so that seems like an underlying thing about the success of this all, is that trusting each other, to respect, to be able to go from I'm the owner to the associate. Now you're still I'm sure have a great relationship.
And I do know that there are going to be things that she's going to change that I wouldn't. And do things different. That's great.
Yeah.
It's time for that person to do what they want to do with it, how they see fit.
Absolutely.
And I beg the trust. I trust that Dr. Reuter will do, even if it's something that I wouldn't do, it's not going to be wrong. It's going to be different.
That's right. It's going to will make sense for her.
Exactly.
There's more ways to get to the.
I don't think, it would take something pretty major for me to have a big problem with it.
Yeah.
So, no, yeah, the trust is a big deal.
Well, we're going to be getting pretty close on time here.
Okay.
I think that what's the future look like beyond veterinary medicine, like practicing? How long are we practicing for? What's the next iteration? You're young. I believe you're young.
Yeah, I'm young. Therefore, I want to do all the stuff while I still can.
Yeah.
That I want to do. I have too many hobbies. So yeah, I got plenty of things to do.
What are they?
Now or last week or next week. I've always been a motorcycle rider. It'd been a few years, but last year I rode to Colorado and rode around the mountains with my son.
Nice. What are you riding?
I've been a Harley rider since 1985.
Awesome.
But this past year, my big cruiser, I just don't do the long trips very often anymore. Okay. So I'm trying to still my big cruiser. Everybody wants to buy a Heritage Softail Classic.
We'll get you connected to Dr. Frey for that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I bought a Pan America, which is Harley's answer to BMW's off-road, on-off off-road.
Dual sport.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep. So went and rode the mountains. I took up scuba diving a few years ago.
Nice.
Which is not an inexpensive hobby.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of scuba diving in Cooper County, Missouri. So
no,
so
the Missouri River isn't very clear.
Which actually, if you get dry suit certified, you can do some of it. But anyway, so scuba diving, I want to take at least 1 to 2 trips per year doing that. I have 2 or 3 old junk vehicles and motorcycles that I pretend to be a mechanic, and old classic vehicles. I was in the shooting sports for a while, but that kind of got bumped aside. I was a competitive athlete for my age.
Yeah.
But I've kind of quit doing that. I just try not to gain fat and not to lose muscle. But yeah, I was a triathlete and half marathoner, and that COVID kind of messed that up too. That and a blown meniscus. But
have you is still torn?
Oh no, I got it fixed.
You got it fixed. Okay.
That's just 60-year-old crackles and pops.
Okay.
So you're not going to have a hard time filling your schedule.
Right.
Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
And as far as veterinary medicine, I'm perfectly fine with doing it for a few more years. Mm-hmm. But I think I actually would be perfectly fine if tomorrow I was replaced.
Okay.
To not do it anymore. It's funny you asked that what's in the future. Last night, Kelly said something to the effect of, I don't remember what she said, something to the effect of, had something in her mind of what might be my next career.
Yeah.
What's next? Because you're right, I'm 60. That's the new whatever.
Yeah.
Still,
I think it's middle age now, right?
Right.
I mean, there's 20 years of really good.
That's what I'm hoping. That's why I kind of want to get on with doing all those things I can do while I still can. So, So when I get
we see that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges is with someone. So you're answering questions we asked earlier about why was it time, those things. You have things to do.
Yeah.
A lot of people, that's all they have is the business, or all they have were their kids, right? Or what it's like.
Right.
You still have your own identity to go out and do things, enjoy things, and I'm sure you'll still be involved with Rotary and things like church. I mean, you've got all that you're being involved with. And what's exciting now for you, though, you talk about your kids being financially independent. Mm-hmm. You're going to be financially independent from a business. From you will get to choose your passion, your next passion, for sure. Yep. So that's exciting. I can't
is.
wait to see what that is.
Mhm.
And I think that I'd love to get you back in. Talk about some
Right.
more things. Maybe get Julie Braun, the executive director of Missouri Veterinary Medical Association,
Talk
in.
about the value of organized veterinary medicine, which is
Absolutely.
be an issue for the younger. But
This is going to come out after we're taping it before the MVMA convention coming up. We're excited about that, so it's be out after it.
Yeah.
So we'll get together and do that. I can't wait to see what happens and goes next. And I, again, thank you for your trust in the Pro Partners team to help you and Dr. Reuter through the process to get to the next phase and grow our relationship. That's what it's about too. So hopefully we're nice also.
Yeah, right. Just be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything closing with you think that we missed that would be?
I
like
think
to
it's a
add?
great conversation. I thought it was awesome.
Dr. Frey, anything you think
I
that?
don't think so. Thanks for having me. I was kind of nervous how this was going to go, but
Yeah.
you guys are professionals. You know how to keep things, keep it light. So.
Well,
No, I appreciate it. That's I hope that this can be of benefit to other veterinarians that are who are all somewhat in the same boat, but others that might be in our situation in the transition phase.
yeah, absolutely.
I wrote a devotional for our church a while back about we're all in a transition in our life. It could be a 10-year-long transition while your kids are in grade school, or it could be a transition that you lost a loved one, or that you graduated, or you had kids, or you got married, or you got divorced, or you lost a parent, or anything like that. But we're all in a transition. And it kind of makes me think of it because this is a pretty major transition in life when you
It is.
transition from veterinary medicine. There's one thing that I focused on throughout that I would recommend that a practice owner do is that I made sure that I owned the practice and it didn't own me. I missed kids' ball games and school events and things like that, but I didn't miss all of them.
Yeah.
There was a line between, and I oftentimes also said that I could have made more money by working more hours at the practice, but I intentionally made that a priority, that I didn't let it own me so much that I neglected my wife and kids and family and other obligations. So I got to be on a soapbox there all of a
What a
sudden.
phenomenal point.
No, I tell you what, we're about educating, advocating, inspiring. And what you just said did all three at the same time. And so I think that is a wonderful way to end the Vetted podcast today. Dr. Scott Frey, Cooper County Animal Hospital. If you like what we got going on, please like and subscribe to the channel. Check us out at thevettedpodcast.com. And I think the best way to finish it, say that phrase again about the owning. Don't let it own you.
Yeah,
Look at that can right there and say intentional.
Just make sure you own your practice and don't let it own you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Peace and blessings.